Hey everybody, this is Mint Chocolate Chip. Over the next series of videos, I'm going to be breaking down and talking about the most asked question in all of Disney Heroes Battle Mode. How do I build a good team? Now, this is different than in some of the other games that are of a similar type, where, for instance, if you played Star Wars Galaxies of Heroes, there's obvious synergy between teams, because for instance, you have like bounty hunters, you got like your Boba Fett and Jango Fett, so obviously they're going to have some synergy because they're bounty hunters. Now, it's different for Disney Heroes Battle Mode because you don't have, like, there are characters that are all from the same movies or shows, and there is some synergy there, but for the most part, there's nothing there that jumps out at you as, oh, this is exactly what you need to be doing. So it's a constant question. It's like, so well, then how do I build a big team if I'm not just going after, every single character that I'm looking at that's from Wreck-It Ralph should all work well together? It just doesn't work like that in Disney Heroes Battle Mode. So I'm going to talk today about general tips, your general guides. You have no idea what you're doing, and you just need to throw something together. You don't really know too much about the characters, so what's kind of like your baseline? What are you going to be doing every single time? And then over the next set of videos, I'll talk about specific team designs that you're going to go for, kind of like a general idea, and then how you're going to implement it, so that when you're making those teams, you're kind of building your farming characters for a specific purpose, for a specific team. And then at the end, I'll talk about specific characters that you're going to want to build your teams around and how you're going to do it. So today, just kind of briefing into how do you have a general good team, the bare bones that are going to build a good team. And I'm not going to be able to show too much competitive because Coliseum and Arena are filled with people that are many, many times stronger than me. They have teams that are ridiculously stronger, and so you won't be able to see a team doing super well, for instance, just because you're going to be looking at it, you're just going to see me get wiped out. So instead, I'll be focusing on the campaign, which is analogous to what you'll see when you're going to those competitive modes like Guild War, Coliseum, and Arena. But just know that this is kind of what you're going for. And so the general tip, sort by role over here, you're going to want one tank that can obviously tank damage. I can just take that damage from the front line. You're going to want one support. You're going to want one control, and you're going to fill the rest with damage. So usually like 2 damage characters. Now, that's a general guideline. That's not saying that is hard and fast rule. For instance, your support character, you're going to want that to usually be a healer. You can get healing from other ways too, but for the most part, you're going to be relying on that support character for your main healing. But not every single support character is a healer. So for instance, if you wanted to have a support character that wasn't as much of a healer, then you could throw in a healer in addition to that, for instance. So you can kind of mess with it a little bit. But again, you're going to want a tank. Tanks up here, their main job is just to take all the damage from the other team. You want a tank that's just going to survive. It's going to be annoying to the other team so that it protects the other characters, especially your damage characters and your healers. So you're going to have a good healer. So if you're confused which characters are healers, just check out support and you'll see it. If another way to check is just if you go over to collections, down on that bottom left, you can actually see that there's a healers one where the Per Blue team has even actually just told you these are the ones we've designed to be healers. So there are different tiers, obviously. Some of these are better than others, but for the most part, this is where you're going to find your healers that you're going to want to be using in your team. So there you go. That's how you find that. A lot of them are supports, for instance, but that's not generally true. And you might also want another support that's not as much of a healer. For instance, I use Animal a lot as a support. He's not really as much of a healer. He does do a little bit, but not that much. His job is more to charge up your team to make them hit harder. And then for the control, so you've got your tank taking all the damage, your healer keeping your tank alive and preventing anyone else from dying. Control characters, their purpose is to crowd control, is another way to said in a lot of other games. You want to throw on debuffs onto the other team. You want to be able to keep them from getting to their abilities. That's what Maleficent does. She saps their energies, prevent them from using their turns. Yzma and Merlin change the other team into... Yzma turns them into a llama and Merlin turns them into squirrels, and that prevents them from attacking. and that's also really helpful. Jafar can charm the other team to make it so they start hitting each other, and that's also really helpful. Hook is a little bit different of a control, but he also is controlling as well. So that's kind of like, those are your bare bones. So you're going to throw in a tank that's solid, you're going to throw in a support character, and that could also be your healer or another healer, and you're going to throw in a control, and you're going to fill in the rest with damage. That's kind of your general 5 character lineup. If you're stuck, then you kind of have to learn a little bit about how you're actually going to get those synergies to match up, but I can even just show you based on what I have right here, a couple teams. So let me just run over here to the campaign, and I'll throw up a couple team comps for you guys that are effective. So I won't go into 26 because that one's the hardest one that I have. Well, I'll go into one of the other similarly hard ones here. I'll go over to 21. So these are 128 orange 8. So they're good. They're not super fantastic, but here you go. So if I were sorting here is harder, so you could build the squad somewhere else, but I happen to just know some of the characters where they're at. So team comp that is really popular is throwing Jafar in, he's a control, throwing Randall in, he does damage, throwing Goofy in, he's a tank, he can take that. Joy is super good healer, and then I kind of have like a flex spot, see, because I've gotten my tank, I've gotten my support, I've gotten my control, I've got my healer who's also my support, and I have Randall, and so just I can kind of fill this in based on what I need. So if I were to just go in and something wasn't working, I can kind of use this flex spot. I'm just going to throw in Maleficent. Maleficent's really good in campaign, but this is very analogous to the team I'm actually running in my arena right now as well. And kind of, I'll throw this off auto and throw this off speed just so you can kind of see what's going on. So what I see here is that, you know, Goofy's up here taking a lot of damage. He's messing with the other team. There's some control happening back here because I have 2 control characters on. So, you know, that's Maleficent doing her thing. And then Randall's just kind of pumping in some damage. So this team right here is one that's really good because I'm controlling the other team. That's kind of the baseline of what's going on. I have Goofy. They can't really get through Goofy. And then Randall's just messing. He does so much damage. Joy's keeping everyone alive. I haven't really needed it, so maybe I'll go with a harder one for the next one. And then these 2 are just controlling the whole time. Again, that's kind of like what you want to see. That's kind of what you're going for. You kind of you want to go in there being comfortable. You don't want to go in and wonder whether or not your team's actually going to make it through. Here you go. So this is much harder. This is 148 red 2. So I'm gonna throw the same team in here, and you can kind of see what's going on as well. So again, I'm taking it off auto, and this team would actually even work on auto. So you got, it's kind of hard to say exactly what's going on with the other team just because Jafar, even though he's control, he just does so much damage. So he actually kind of doubles as a control and as a damage character because that Sand Tornado, that Whirling Dervish just does so much. Then Maleficent comes in and just puts thorns up and just stuns the other team so they can't even get anything done. You can even see that when Purple is even designing the campaigns, they're kind of using the same strategy. So if you saw, they had Buzz, who's a damage character, then they had 2 controls. They had Maleficent, they had Meg. I guess Meg is also more of a support, and then they had Bogo, who's a tank. And so even Purple, when they're designing these, is using the same thing. So as you can see, this is just a team comp that I've just thrown up with kind of the general guidelines using strong characters. And I'm just kind of breezing through all these. I even jumped up to the next campaign just to show you guys what it's doing, how it's being effective. In general, this guideline isn't necessarily going to work perfectly. And as we'll talk about in like succeeding videos, there's other ways to design the team. For instance, this is similar to what I'm running in Arena, but I actually don't have a tank in Arena. In my Coliseum teams, I'm barely using tanks. I think I only really use Goofy and Gonzo. I also use Bo Peep here and there, but she's not as good of a tank. So there you go. So that's your general guideline. So I don't have anything to write it on screen, but just kind of go through and sort by role, and you'll see some tanks. If you even want some general tips, you could even just look at who I've actually invested in and find out who are the good characters. Granted, there are some of the newer characters I just haven't invested in because I just don't have time or the money. But there you go. So pull in a support, pull in a control, pull in a tank, and then fill the rest with damage. If you should always have a healer on every team, unless you're planning on just wiping out the other team without ever needing a healer. But in general, you're gonna want a healer, and that could also be your support. But if you do it right, you can actually even have a flex spot. Some of these damage characters could even just kind of be your only main damage source if you have other characters that can help support the damage that they're outputting. So there you guys go. In the next couple videos, I'll be talking about specific team designs, most notably focusing on fantastic damage, focusing on normal damage, and focusing on certain skills that you're going to really want to team up with each other. And then from there, going into team comps of specific teams that you're actually going to want to be pulling together, like what kind of characters work really well together. If you do have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you have any other team comps that you really want me to try out and see, if you are completely stuck and you want very specific advice, then feel free to comment, and I'm happy to help anywhere. And feel free to subscribe, and hope to see you guys around. I'm having fun doing this, and I really hope you guys are enjoying this as well. Again, feel free to comment and everything, and I'll see you guys around.